It's a whole wide world under here with some prime real estate and colorful characters. This is Australia's Great Barrier Reef, the largest reef in the world, and it conceals many secrets, which makes it a perfect spot for the Census of Marine Life, an ambitious decade-long project to discover everything that lives in the oceans, from large to microscopic. Project leader Julian Cayley says researchers need to fill in the blanks.
We know quite a lot about the corals and fishes. They're quite obvious. People have been working on them for many years. But what we don't know is a lot about the other things that live in amongst the corals.
Excuse me, boys, are we ready to go?
Well, if you're ready
We've got some serious diving to do.
During the census, divers combed the coral reefs off Heron Island, collecting samples. Some of the larger animals are collected in traps and bags. But to find the smallest inhabitants, the divers must chisel chunks of dead coral off the ocean bed and take them back to the lab for identification. The marine investigation is taking place just in time.
Reefs, as we know, are under threat. They're under threat because of climate change, ocean acidification, various forms of use. And if we have any chance of managing those reefs effectively, we need to know what's there in order to be able to understand how those reefs are changing and whether or not we're losing the biodiversity that resides on them, and whether the management that we're putting in place is effective.
Already there are sections of coral bed off Heron Island that are dead or dying. To learn more about protecting the reef, researchers also fasten boxes to the ocean floor. They're called Autonomous Reef Monitoring Systems, or ARMS for short. Creatures will treat them like coral and move right in. Then in a year or so, scientists will come back to collect the boxes and study what's taken up residence. Back at the Heron Island lab, researchers break open the corals to find out what's living inside. A single dead coral head can contain more than 150 individual crustaceans and many species of worms and microorganisms. Inside the lab, these smallest creatures go under the microscope.
So what I've been doing is mostly collecting coral rubble, and then this is our little processing station where we just break up the rubble and pick out the worms that we can find. So there's one there, into alcohol and ready to be identified under the microscope.
Australia is one of more than 80 countries participating in the ambitious Census of Marine Life. The decade-long project will end soon, but the results are already starting to come in. What they discovered surprised even the scientists. They didn't stumble on a couple of new species, or even dozens, as was expected. Instead, they discovered literally hundreds of creatures that had never before been identified.
And we're coming up with many, many species that no one's ever seen before. In some places we go, a particular group has never been collected there, and there was one group that we think there was in excess of 90% of the species we were collecting had never been seen before.
The discovery of so many new species suggests there's much about coral reefs that we don't know, and reminds us that we need to protect fragile habitats, or some species may not be around for the next great census.
Sponsored by National Geographic Mission Programs, taking science and exploration into the new millennium.